The night the call came, rain hammered the windows of St. Anne's Medical Center in Chicago like a warning, and somewhere between the flickering hallway lights and the antiseptic smell of the ICU, a young nurse named Hannah Whitaker felt her life quietly split in two. She stood alone near the nurse's station, staring at a patient chart that did not yet carry meaning, unaware that a single choice made in exhaustion and faith would bind her fate to a man whose name echoed through boardrooms, but never through a home. In that moment, before courage had a chance to doubt itself, kindness was already moving faster than fear. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and unseen miracles, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us that goodness still finds a way. Hannah was 26, raised in a small Ohio town where church bells marked Sundays and compassion was learned before multiplication tables. She worked double shifts, sent part of every paycheck back to help her mother, and rented a narrow apartment that faced a brick wall. Nursing was not just her job, it was the one place where her grief softened. 2 years earlier, her father had died waiting for a transplant that never came, and she carried that loss like a quiet scar beneath her scrubs. At St. Anne's, she was known for staying late, for sitting with patients who had no visitors, for treating every chart like a human life rather than a task. She did not know the man in room 714, only that he was critically ill with kidney failure and that the donor list had grown painfully short. The patient was named Michael Reynolds, though the hospital records listed him with a number that meant more than his name. He was 51, a CEO whose companies had reshaped skylines and stock prices across the United States. In the glass tower downtown that bore his initials, employees spoke of him with reverence and distance. What the headlines never printed was how empty his penthouse felt at night, how his success had come at the cost of friendships, marriage, and any sense of being needed by another soul. His wealth had built walls higher than any illness could climb, and now, confined to a hospital bed, he stared at ceilings and wondered how a man could own everything and still be alone. Hannah learned about Michael only through medical necessity. She monitored vitals, adjusted medications, and documented changes with steady hands. Over weeks, she noticed the way his eyes followed the door, as if expecting someone who never arrived. She noticed how his chart showed visitor lines left blank. The loneliness in that room felt heavier than the machines, and it awakened a memory she tried not to revisit, the memory of her father waiting, hoping, and fading. When she discovered her blood type matched Michael's, and that she was a potential donor, the thought settled into her chest and refused to leave. She prayed, wrestled with fear, and considered the risk, knowing that donating a kidney would mean time off work she could not afford and a surgery that could change her own future. The hospital ethics committee questioned her motives, her family worried, and the financial strain loomed like a storm cloud. Hannah lived paycheck to paycheck, and recovery would cost more than money. Still, she remembered the night she held her father's hand and promised that if she ever had a chance to save someone else, she would not look away. The decision was not heroic in her mind, it was simply necessary. She signed the forms with trembling resolve, never asking who Michael truly was beyond the patient in need. To her, he was a life worth saving, nothing more and nothing less. The surgery took place on a gray morning when the city felt hushed. Hannah lay under bright lights, her heart pounding with fear and faith intertwined. Across the corridor, Michael was prepped for the transplant, unaware of the identity of the donor who had given him a future. The operation was long and complex, and when it ended, 2 lives had been altered forever. Hannah awoke in pain, her body weak but her spirit strangely light. Michael awoke days later with numbers improving and a strength returning that felt almost miraculous. Doctors spoke of recovery and hope, and for the first time in years, Michael imagined a tomorrow not ruled by decline. Hannah's recovery was slower than she expected. Bills piled up, her job security wavered, and nights were filled with discomfort and doubt. She returned to her apartment to face silence, the kind that presses against the ears. Friends from work checked in when they could, but she felt invisible in a world that kept moving without her. Still, she told herself the pain was temporary and the purpose eternal. She did not know that in a quiet hospital office, Michael was finally asking questions, learning that the donor who saved him was a nurse who had nothing to gain and everything to lose. When Michael requested to meet his donor, hospital policy delayed the connection, but gratitude had already begun reshaping him. He started noticing the people around him, the staff who worked tirelessly, the patients who had no advocates. The transplant did more than heal his body, it cracked open a heart long sealed by ambition. By the time he was discharged, he was determined to find the person who had given him life and to understand why such selflessness existed in a world he thought he knew. Months later, as Hannah returned to work with a cautious smile and lingering fatigue, change arrived quietly. Her student loans were suddenly forgiven through an anonymous foundation. Her mother's medical expenses were covered. A scholarship appeared for advanced nursing education in her name, though no benefactor was listed. She felt confusion more than relief, sensing a hand at work she could not see. When Michael finally met Hannah in a hospital hallway filled with morning light, recognition passed between them like a current. He saw not a savior draped in grandeur, but a young woman whose courage humbled him beyond words. Hannah saw not a millionaire, but a man who looked profoundly grateful and equally fragile. Michael learned Hannah's story, her father's loss, her faith, her quiet resilience. The loneliness that had defined his success dissolved as he found purpose in honoring the gift he received. He redirected his wealth toward transplant awareness, patient support, and hospital programs that ensured donors never suffered financially for their generosity. Hannah continued nursing, her life steadier now, her dreams expanded by opportunity she never sought. Their connection did not turn into spectacle. It became a testament to what happens when humanity recognizes itself in another. As seasons changed, Michael filled his once empty penthouse with people and meaning, hosting fundraisers that felt more like family gatherings. Hannah graduated with honors, mentoring young nurses who reminded her of herself. Neither forgot the rain-soaked night when fate had intervened, when a chart number became a miracle and a lonely CEO found belonging through the courage of a nurse who never asked for recognition. If this story has touched your heart, please take a moment now to like the video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel so more stories of compassion can reach the world. Your support keeps these moments alive. Before the end, we have one special request for you. Comment the word kindness below if you believe a single selfless act can change more than one life. Hannah's scar faded with time, but the impact of her choice only grew stronger, rippling through lives she would never meet. Michael's fortune became a tool rather than a shield, and together, though on separate paths, they proved that the greatest wealth is not what we keep, but what we give away when no one is watching.